seated, brother, come this forward, right, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the meeting with public comment. Is there public comment?
Quick question, Mr. Chairman, Tim Ravendall. We are working on a piece to keep people informed about the great thing that happened with Granite County giving that $25,000 grant. And one of the questions that are still out there in the air wondering, the Lewis and Clark County has donated some time and resources, as well as Missoula County. Anaconda Deer Lodge County is listed, as well as Butte Silver Bow. We're just wondering if there's any other grants or help that has come in. We did see the letter that went out to Granite County from our county attorney, making that request back in 2017. But we're just wondering if there's anything else that's on the table or pending.
I don't believe that there is anything else that we know of. Who was it? Was it Deer Lodge? Powell County had some expenses. A couple of their vehicles got shot up, so they weren't able to contribute. And I don't think that the other ones, Gallatin County stored the vehicle for months, I think. Missoula County has housed Barris since he's been arrested at no charge to Broadwater County.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were just curious if there was any other financial donations to the cost of running this trial. Again, Granite County provided us some funding from their PILT account, and then we're just wondering if there's any other funding coming.
Not that we know of.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think it's worth noting too that the letter was actually from Corey, the sheriff, and the 3 commissioners.
Any other public comment? Okay, if not, we can...
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
last week we brought up the issue of keeping the meeting open and having office hours and then adjourning at 4 o'clock. Both Corey and I commented on that. Is there a statute somewhere that someone can find that says that's not illegal? I believe it is, and that's my question.
I would believe that Mako has a differing opinion on that.
But you're elected by Broadwater County. Let's do Broadwater County rules. Is that all right?
Yep. Yes.
One more point, and I believe it's a follow-up on the last public comment. The publisher of the paper had to get to another appointment, but we were just kind of curious. Again, we did bring up the idea of making sure that we have a matched agenda so that what goes on the website under the new rules is the same as what's coming out on the paper for the people that don't get onto the internet and have that access and ability. And of course, there was like 3 minutes apart between what came to the paper as well as what came out 3 minutes later to the website and other folks that are electronically. And again, there's a difference in detail on the one that was sent to the paper. Is a little hard to see the full picture, and we're just wanting to make sure that we try to make that networking, if you will, so that the people on both sides of the information superhighway can get that accurate information, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. See any other public comment? We can move on to the commissioner's update. We had office hours, and then we also had a closed door meeting Friday morning.
And I think we should mention that the public health nurse came in with letters for us to sign. We'd already agreed to sign those and voted on it here in the meeting.
And then also the maintenance supervisor came in with an update on the computer issue with the detention center that was also brought up here in the meeting. That was it.
Excuse me, Commissioner, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what the maintenance supervisor brought to the meeting.
Computer update.
A computer update?
On the lock system at the jail is down. So it kinda gave us a little more in-depth of what was going on with that.
All right, thank you. Just for clarification. Thank you.
Okay, so we can go to the certificate of survey review. Do you have anything, Bernadette?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, would you be opposed to my making a motion to approve our minutes?
Oh, yes.
Also move as presented.
Motion to approve the minutes for January 2nd, 2009, January 22nd, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve minutes for January 22nd, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I guess we can move on to the 10-15 lease agreement based on market rate for county-owned modular building used for a nonprofit building. I looked for the original contract for this building, couldn't find it, but Ann and those people found me a resolution 8111. The amount of the bond for that building was $275,000 industrial development revenue note in September 30th, 1981. So that gives us a value, and Corey was going to work with Doc Campbell's lawyers on an agreement, and he's not gonna be back in until, he won't be available for a meeting until next month. Is there any further discussion on what we wanna do with this for right now?
I'd like to request for one that Corey work with us first on an agreement. I would think that we would want to work together, the four of us, put together an agreement that's fair to the taxpayers, and then take that to Doc Campbell for review with his attorneys and counter proposal if he wants, or acceptance.
Okay.
I would think that we could be fair to all concerned. But I think he should work with us first.
I did get the revised appraisals from Jeannie Steele, so I'll give you guys each a copy of those.
Does anyone know what the square footage of that building is?
3195 is my guess, I Googled it.
Let's see, we have claims here in the amount of,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, before you move on, please. Commissioner Wolford, you did get your confirmation or deal on the appraisals that you had sought. Do you have any figures that you can provide to us as far as where this is at right now on your side? Because we did hear the ones that Commissioner Obert had come up with.
Sure. I mean, Jeannie did a comparative market analysis based on, let's see, 6 different commercial buildings in Townsend here. And her says that based on the above commercial leases, the average of 39 cents per square foot is what her analysis was.
Okay. And in our footage of the building in question is,
What was that?
what, the square footage of the building that's in question
They
is?
just said.
I thought that was.
3195.
3195?
Mhm.
Thank you.
3,195.
Gotcha. I thought that was what the figure, but I just wanted to verify. Thank you. Sorry for being a pain here.
So we have approved claims here in the amount of $91,384.40.
I move to approve, to pay the approved claims in the amount of, what was that again, Mike?
$91,384.40.
Yes, amount of $91,384.40.
Is there a second?
I reviewed those claims and second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carried. Move on to the accept adjusted journal entries. These are adjusted journal entries for October and November.
I was the last to approve. I noticed that all 3 of us have approved those. I will move to accept the adjusted journal entries for October and November as presented.
Motion been made to accept the journal entries, adjusted journal entries as presented. Is there a second?
I second to accept the adjusted journal entries.
Motion been made and second to accept adjusted journal entries. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. See, we got about 15 minutes here before Nicole's. Do we want everything else, or you want to run up and get her?
I'd like to talk about the lease a little bit more if we could.
Okay.
Some of the things I've been wondering about, and I think we should engage our maintenance department, but Jeannie's number of $12.46 roughly per month is the option number 1 that I got from one of our realtors as well. So that seems to jive, at least with 2 of our appraisers. But the questions I have on top of that would be, what do we want to put in place so that if there is, I've heard the roof is leaking. Should that be on the county? Should that be on the person who has had the building for all these years? Not had it, but been using it. I'd like to talk about how we want to put that into the lease so that Corey knows what kind of language he's working with. Also is the walls in the exterior. If you look at this wall that's next to the courthouse, it's in pretty rough shape. To protect the county's investment, this taxpayer's investment, what's the protection we want to put into the lease for that? The other question, do we want to have the county pay water and sewer and have the leasee pay the electric and heat and maintenance of the grounds? I would think we'd want some kind of a standard. You know, right now the maintenance is covered by the county. Do we continue that? And I think it should be in the lease and any other maintenance issues. So what do you guys think about maybe giving Corey a list of what we'd like him to put in the lease so that he can have something drafted by next Monday?
I would think that the roof and the exterior should be his responsibility to bring them up to where they're not a problem. Because he's had it for how many years and hasn't done anything with it. As far as the county water and sewer, I think that the county could pay the water and sewer and have the tenant pay the electrical and the heat.
I'd be good with that.
Right, and then we also need to, as you mentioned, we discuss ongoing maintenance after these things have been brought up to standard, that we continue to maintain the building.
Yeah, I like that, and maybe if there's some kind of a checklist that's a standard that's used in the industry,
Sure.
we could have something like that. Also inspections of the building, I would think at least once a year, maybe once every 6 months, to make sure that there's nothing that we're not aware of.
Yeah, I think we could have Mike do that. Mike is qualified to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then do we want, you talk about building maintenance, do we want to continue to have the county crew do the ground maintenance? And we're out there mowing anyway, it's not that much of it, so we'll just continue with the county and we'll do the ground
I
maintenance.
think that's fine.
I agree. I noticed that Dwight's here, I just want you to be
Yes.
able to walk out the door having some idea of what we're looking at.
Did you have a comment, Dwight?
I do, Mr. Chairman. On the roof leaking, that's been fixed. We've been doing almost yearly repairs on that. Mr. Arden has been the guy that's been doing the roof repairs for us, so the building is currently not leaking. It's a
Okay.
flat roof. Those roofs are hard to keep from leaking, but we've been maintaining that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight.
And as far as the lease rate, I'd be happy to go with Jeannie's, 0.39 cents, or 39 cents per square foot, and then also include the sewer and water in that. So roughly $12.46 a month, but we pay water and sewer.
So we would add $39 cents a square foot plus water and sewer.
Yeah, what do you
Okay.
think?
I think that'd be fair.
That's fair.
Okay. And then maybe pick Mike's brain on anything else that should be added to the list.
So are they presently paying taxes on it? Who pays the taxes?
I think has Doc been paying the taxes for the last couple of years?
I don't know how that works.
Okay.
So does currently it's being used, or the payment for the county health officer is considered a part of this rent? Is that something that we need to write into this, or how do we handle that?
Well, I think we
It
can
is
consider
not.
that, but I think we should talk about it.
It's been a separate thing that we've done, so it's not related in any way. A couple of years ago, we talked about the fact that it's over 2,500, so it should be advertised to the public. There were folks who came to the public health, or Board of Health meeting and said, no, he's been doing it all these years, he should just continue. And that was Doc's argument too. He came to one of the meetings and said, I want to continue at the $5,000 a year. So we've just kept that going. So it was more of a verbal agreement. I would imagine it's in the Board of Health minutes. But I do think that, I think we should advertise it. If Doc is the one that's interested and wants to increase that amount, he can put in an RFP. But I think that if somebody else is interested, they should also have the option so that we can at least ensure the public that we're following MCA.
Is that a yearly contract?
Yes. It's usually paid in June. Last year, Corey had suggested that we not pay it so that it could be considered as part of a trade with the building while he was working with Doc's lawyers. That was the last we ever heard. I don't think that's good business practice to continue that.
No, it needs to be, written down, contracted,
Yeah,
so that it's correct.
no surprises.
Yes, Tim?
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, if the building is sitting on county property, backing up to the tax issue, the county doesn't charge itself with taxes, so what, I guess for clarification, don't understand the question, if it's a county owned, where will that go?
That's a good question.
The other thing with that I think it's important to mention is it wasn't a quitclaim deed, it was actually a bill of sale that we did 2 years ago.
So the county would already be paying SIDs on that property? As far as the city fees would go for the streets? The county
Yeah.
would already be paying the SID on that?
Right.
It's just a tax, okay.
Well, no, that may be the tax question. So that's the city's lighting district, isn't it? SID?
Yeah, that's, no, street improvement district.
Street improvement. Yeah, so those, at this point, I would imagine are being paid by Doc. Prior to that would have been paid by the hospital, I think. So that's the tax question that we'll have to get some more clarification on.
Does that include their garbage and everything else? Okay.
I'm gonna guess yes, but we need to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would think those would be paid by the tenant, just like the heat, electric, and all other utilities.
So you're talking about the solid waste assessment versus the garbage pickup itself? Anything else on that then?
Not that I can think of.
Mr. Chair, isn't that solid waste, the garbage and everything in on your water bill?
No.
It is mine.
No, it's not. The garbage and the solid waste, the garbage, water and sewer is the city, solid waste is the county. On your county taxes, you pay a solid waste fee. You pay the city for garbage collection.
Yeah. That's what I understood you to say, is that
that should be going in on a different situation.
Well, he's gonna pay water and sewer, but we pay, but whoever pays the taxes has to pay the garbage, the solid waste assessment. Okay, so is there anything else? I'll have to grab the poll.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you want me to swear? Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Did you want to tape it? No. Did you want to tape it?
No, this is actually.
Oh, good.
No, I don't think it's good.
No. I was even afraid to touch it.
No.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
It's a busy place here today, holy heck.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, before you started in the next, if I may, I just got a clarification from the mayor on the city that the question was asked as far as the solid waste. And of course, each resident or family unit does pay the county deal, but there's also a charge for the collection by the city, which is part of the question that was asked.
Yeah.
And that just was not explained as far as that being a separate tax or fee above the county level. That was at the city. So thank you just for clarification for everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you ready for me to begin? Okay, this is in southern Broadwater County. This is the Hamilton subsequent minor subdivision. It's part of the Riverview Estates, the subsequent lot split within that development. 2-lot minor, subsequent minor. So I will start on page 2 under proposal. Also there was a public hearing held on January 3rd. No public comment, no members of the public, no written comment to report. The applicants propose to develop 2 residential lots from an existing 8.92 acre parcel. These lots will be served by individual wastewater treatment systems and individual wells. Access to the proposed subdivision will be via a shared driveway off of the subdivision road, Riverview Road. The required preliminary review fee of $1,860 has been paid. The proposed subdivision is a subsequent minor from a tract of record, therefore a public hearing is required. A variance request for the deviation from the Design and Development Standards section of the Broadwater County subdivision regulations, which states, "No lot may have an average dimensional ratio greater than a 3:1, is included in the preliminary plat application as item number 34. According to the developer's representative, there will be no detrimental effects to the public or adjoining properties for emergency vehicle access, as the driveway will not be extended or changed. The existing home site with the driveway will remain unchanged, and the additional lot is proposed with a no-build zone, limiting its building area length. The property is proposed to be divided in such a manner that allows each lot owner to have river frontage, but a no-build zone on Lot 3B promotes open space along the river. Excuse me. This variance allows for the creation of an additional residential lot to be approved through the subdivision process. Review is performed pursuant to Montana Subdivision and Plating Act, Section 76.3.101 through 76.3.614 Montana Codes Annotated, and the Broadwater County Subdivision Regulations. The proposed preliminary plat, Hamilton Subsequent Minor Subdivision, as submitted by the applicant, together with the required supplementary plans and information, appear to satisfy the requirements of these regulations, and with a Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan dated July 2003. A preliminary plat, vicinity map, topographic map, firm floodplain map, lot layout, and soils map of the proposed subdivision have been provided. No rock outcroppings or the presence of bedrock have been identified on the property. The distance to bedrock is greater than 8 feet. Although the property abuts the Jefferson River, the proposed subdivision is not in an area subject to flood hazard. According to the developer's representative, a natural drainage courses through the southerly half of Lot 3B, which will be designated as a no-build zone. These tracts will be served by individual wells. There's an existing home located on the proposed Lot 3A with a well in place. The total depth of the well is 360 feet, with a static water level of 8 feet. Yield is approximately 10 gallons per minute. A copy of the well log is included in the preliminary plat application as item number 14. These tracts will be served by individual wastewater treatment systems, which require review and approval by the Department of Environmental Quality. There are no surface waters or wells that will lie within 100 feet of this subdivision's wastewater treatment systems. There is an existing and approved septic system in place on the proposed Lot 3A. Lot owners will be responsible for disposal of their own solid waste. The subdivision residents will have the option of hiring an independent contractor to pick up their solid waste or transport it themselves to the Logan landfill, as these parcels are not located within the Broadwater County Solid Waste District. The land is currently subdivision and not utilized for any grazing or farming purposes. Lands to the north are residential and some agricultural. Lands to the east and south are Jefferson River frontage, and land to the west are residential subdivision properties. This two-lot subdivision will have a minimal effect on agricultural productivity, since the subject property is currently part of a subdivision. According to the applicants, no acreage will be removed from the production of crops or livestock grazing. The property is not considered prime farmland, even if it was irrigated, nor is it considered prime farmland or part of an economically viable farm unit. This subdivision is considered to be compatible with surrounding uses, since the surrounding area is agricultural, subdivision, residential, and grazing. No conflicts between the proposed subdivision and adjacent farm operations have been identified. It should not interfere with the movement of farm machinery, operation of any irrigation systems, or diminish the availability or quality of water in the surrounding area. An environmental assessment was not required for the subdivision, since it lies within an area of preferred growth covered by the Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan. No hazards such as falls, slides, or slumps are indicated on the plat. There is no known seismic activity, and no geological conditions which might affect the development, such as unsuitable soils, were identified within the proposed subdivision. The only areas covered by vegetation, other than that which is purposely landscaped, is the area located along the banks of the Jefferson River. According to the weed management plan completed by the applicants, no noxious weeds have been identified on the property. The county weed coordinator has not yet completed the site inspection, and a signed and approved weed management plan has not yet been received. The applicants noted on the plan that any disturbed areas will be reseeded and any noxious weeds identified will be sprayed. According to the preliminary plat application, the only wildlife identified on the property are deer, rabbits, and gopher. Because of the size of the parcel and the close proximity to a major U.S. highway, any effects on wildlife should be minimal. According to Damon Murdo with the Montana Historical Society, there have been no previously recorded historical sites within the designated search locale. Mr. Murdo stated that even though there are no recorded historical sites in the area, as long as there will be no disturbance or alteration to any structures over 50 years of age, a cultural resource inventory is unwarranted at this time. If any historical sites are identified during construction, MHS will be notified. No new roads are proposed for this subdivision. Access will be off of a proposed shared driveway easement via the existing 60-foot wide subdivision road, Riverview Road. Since the applicants are proposing only a 2-lot minor subdivision, they should not be required to build the existing Riverview Road to county subdivision road standards. The county shall request, however, that they contribute 1/50th per lot of the cost to upgrade the road. The applicants will obtain a bid estimate for the cost to upgrade the existing Riverview Road to county subdivision road standards, only from the intersection of US Highway 287 to the point where the shared driveway connects to Riverview Road. Per the subdivision regulations, this road should be upgraded to a number 1 local road. The maximum number of vehicle trips per day for a number 1 local road is 400, which is equivalent to 50 lots. Therefore, the proposed Hamilton subsequent minor subdivision developers shall be required to contribute 2/50ths of the cost to upgrade Riverview Road to Broadwater County subdivision road standards. The responsibility of maintenance of the roads will be the developers until it's turned over to the homeowners. Northwestern Energy currently provides electrical service to the home on Lot 3A. There is a meter box and power box located on Lot 3B. The Three Forks Rural Fire District will serve the proposed subdivision. A signed and approved fire plan is included in the preliminary plat application as item number 26. The developer proposes to plant low-growing green vegetation around structures and removing any climbing fuels, along with posting address plaques and following proper procedures for open burning on the property. The TFRFD chief signed the application and accepted it as is with no additional requirements or comments. The Broadwater County Sheriff, located in Townsend, will provide law enforcement. The Three Forks Ambulance Service will provide both ambulatory and emergency services. The proposed development, according to the Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan, will generate approximately 2 school-aged children whom will attend school in Three Forks. The Three Forks school system should be able to accommodate this small number of children. This subdivision should be compatible with surrounding land uses, since there will only be 1 additional home site placed upon the parcel. According to the applicants, the potential hazards are the close proximity to US Highway 287 and the Jefferson River. In order to mitigate potential hazards, fences may be constructed to keep the animals and/or small children confined to the property. Since this proposed subdivision is a subsequent minor subdivision, creating only 2 lots, no parks or recreation facilities are required. It's hereby ordered that the preliminary plat for the Hamilton subsequent minor subdivision is approved subject to the conditions listed below. Final plat approval shall be contingent upon completion and compliance with these conditions. Number 1, plan for sewage treatment and water supply shall be submitted to the Montana Department of Environmental Quality and the Broadwater County Health Department for review and approval. The certificate of subdivision approval shall be filed with a final plat. Number 2, the applicant shall contribute 2/50ths of the cost to upgrade the existing road, Riverview Road, to Broadwater County subdivision road standards for a number 1 local road. Shall be required that they obtain a current estimate. 3, a signed and approved Montana Department of Transportation right-of-way agreement equal or greater than the county subdivision road requirements, which are currently at a width of 24 feet, must be received. Number 4, a weed management plan for the existing development shall be submitted to the county weed district for review and approval. 5, the applicants will be required to submit the final plat drawings in electronic format to Broadwater County in ArcGIS, AutoCAD, or MicroStation format. Additional materials may be requested by the county in electronic format to facilitate review of application materials. Number 6, the applicant and the Fire Protection Authority having jurisdiction shall use their best efforts to draft a fire protection plan specifically for this subdivision in accordance with Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The plan should be equally acceptable to the FPHJ, the applicant, and the county governing authority. The plan shall adequately address the fire risk analysis, all findings of fact, and appropriate mitigation measures. In the event the parties are unable to come to agreement by the final plat submittal, the applicant shall become eligible to provide the per-lot cash in lieu fee for water supply, as may be defined in the Broadwater County subdivision regulations in effect at the time of submittal. 7, plans for the location and installation of individual mailboxes shall be reviewed and approved by the United States Postal Service prior to installation. 8, the final plat shall be prepared in accordance with applicable state survey requirements, Montana Subdivision and Platting Act survey requirements, and county subdivision regulations. 9, the book and page reference to the restrictive covenant filed with the county clerk and recorder shall be indicated on the face of the final plat. In addition, restrictive covenants, revocable or alterable only with the consent of the Board of County Commissioners, shall be placed upon the property and shall provide for the following. A, notification of the potential health risk from radon concentrations, and that such risk can be evaluated through soil tests and mitigated through radon abatement techniques incorporated into structures. B, a notification that all dwelling units within the subdivision should be constructed to specifications which meet or exceed equivalent provisions in the applicable state building code for this seismic zone, which is Zone 3. C, any additional replacement or relocated utility lines shall be installed underground in accordance with county subdivision regulations unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. D, any exterior lighting shall be directed downward to minimize visibility beyond the property lines. E, a waiver of the right to protest to join a special district for the purpose of providing community water and/or wastewater treatment system improvements and/or maintenance. F, a restrictive covenant binding the landowner, any heirs, successors, and assigns, and all future owners of property within the subdivision, agreeing therein to hold Broadwater County harmless and indemnify Broadwater County from all claims, demands, obligations, suits, causes of action, damages, and liability, including the county's costs and attorney fees arising in any manner whatsoever out of or relating to the existence, use, operation, repair, and maintenance of the following. 1, earthquake fault zone and any seismic activity, and 2, water availability. G, all cats and dogs must be restrained, penned, or otherwise under the control of their owner at all times. H, notification of the presence of agricultural operations in the vicinity. I, each lot shall be maintained in a clean, attractive, and weed-free manner. Noxious weeds must be pulled, sprayed, or cut prior to seed maturity. J, a waiver of right to protest joining a rural improvement or maintenance district for the purpose of road maintenance, mosquito control, or equitably funding parks and maintenance of parks. K, address numbers shall be clearly marked at the driveway entrance to each lot and be easily identified from the road. L, a notification that lots in this subdivision may be subject to impact fees if in place prior to lot sales. 10, prior to filing the final plat, the following improvements shall be installed or otherwise guaranteed. A, any necessary improvements required by the stormwater drainage plan, weed management plan, or approach permit. And B, utilities abutting and available to each lot. If said improvements are not installed prior to final plat, then the applicant shall enter into a written subdivision improvements agreement with Broadwater County, guaranteeing the construction and installation of such improvements, and shall provide an acceptable financial security guarantee in accordance with county subdivision regulations, Appendix E. 11, prior to filing the final plat, the applicant shall A, provide proof that all taxes and special assessments assessed and levied on the property are paid for the current tax year, including any past delinquencies. And B, provide documentation showing that the applicant is the lawful owner of the property with the apparent authority to subdivide the same, showing the names of lien holders or claimants of record and the written consent to the subdivision by the owners of the land, if other than the applicant, and any lien holders or claimants of record against the land. The applicant is financially responsible for actual outside engineering, consulting, professional and/or contracted service fees, etc., at the sole discretion of the county for additional review and/or final plat approval of the proposed subdivision. Preliminary plat approval of the Hamilton subsequent minor subdivision shall be enforced for 3 calendar years. At the end of this period, the governing body may, at the request of the subdivider, extend its approval for a mutually agreed upon period of time. Any mutually agreed upon extension must be in writing and dated and signed by the members of the governing body and the subdivider or subdivider's agent. The governing body may issue more than one extension. A party as defined by 763625 MCA who is aggrieved by a decision of the governing body may, within 30 days after this decision, appeal to the Broadwater County District Court.
So this is the shared driveway, Nicole, right
That
here?
is correct.
Okay, so just help orientate me where this really is.
South of the interstate and south of the intersection with Highway 2. Here, it's the very southern end of Broadwater.
This is the road, Three Forks Junction is up here, and the road to Three Forks is here, and this is down past towards Sappington. Is that where you're at, Nicole, down towards Sappington Junction past the Three Forks?
That's correct. Yeah, I just wanted to see, okay, this vicinity map might assist. You know, there's a little one on there, but it's not as easy to tell on here. So here's Highway 287. There is the Three Forks Road. You're going
Okay.
into Three Forks. This is the subject property right here.
Okay, okay.
So Nicole, section M, as this is a subsequent minor, are each of the steps in section M required?
Yes, section M of the.
Regulations?
Of our subdivision regulations.
Yeah,
Section M, I'm sorry, I
septic,
don't have it in there.
septic
No,
and,
because those are greater than 20s.
okay,
That's pertinent to greater than 20s.
okay.
Sorry, I should have known that section.
Bring it up with everyone, I'm
Thank you.
going to
Yes,
continue.
yep, thank you. Section M applies only to parcels greater than 20. And since these are less than 20 acre parcels, they go through DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, for review.
So the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
This variance that you have on here, is that because this thing is three times, more than 3 times longer than it is wide, so that
That
this
is
can be
correct.
divided again, is that the?
I suppose they could subdivide it again. They would then be looking at doing some road building most likely, and again, subsequent public hearing. But I suppose there's no reason why it could not be subdivided again. But basically, it was to allow both lots to have river frontage. Mr. Hamilton of the Hamilton Minor Subdivision currently resides on, my map, but
3A.
is that 3A? Thank you. He currently resides, he has a home and resides there, and he wanted to maintain his river frontage, of course. And considering that it would probably be a more desirable parcel to sell, a parcel with river frontage as well. But the no-build zone is because of the drainage and to protect his view shed as well. So that does not mean that they couldn't, utilize the parcel, or that portion of the parcel, the no-build zone, they just cannot build in it.
So there's an existing shed there, the new, no building.
It's just outside of it. It's actually on Mr. Hamilton's parcel itself, it looks like.
Here, I see.
Down on the lower portion, the shaded area, it's showing a shed.
Oh, it does show a shed there.
It's an existing kind of dilapidated shed down there.
That's right, you did talk to me about that in the pre-application meeting. Bernadette is the representative for this developer, yeah.
And so what the no-build zone is just any future building is not
Correct.
allowed. But anything that's already on it would essentially be grandfathered.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, according to the representative and Mr. Hamilton himself, it's, in rough shape, so it probably won't be there much longer. But just no new construction, essentially, homes.
So we should approve or not the variance first.
Correct.
And then the subdivision. If you guys don't have any more questions on the variance, I'll get that out of the way and move that we grant the variance based on the information provided by our community development director.
So is there a second to allow the variance for the 3-to-1 ratio?
I guess I have a question on that. Is it the present landowner's intent to keep that lot the way it is? Do you know?
According to my conversations, yes. That is the intent, and I've spoken with him. He's been considering doing this for probably at least 2 years that I've been aware of. But in my conversations with him, he has no desire to split it any further. That does not mean that he cannot. He just simply would have to go through this process again.
Right.
Or if he ever sold it, that future lot owners would have that opportunity.
All right. All right, I'll second that we accept that variance.
Motion's been made and second to approve the variance for the 3-to-1 dimensions for the Broder County subdivision regulations. Is there any more discussion? If not, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Nicole, I wonder if I can make a request of the findings of fact in the future. Under solid waste on page 3, I think we should give an option to join the solid waste district.
Okay.
are you just adding the option, residents shall have the option of hiring an independent contractor or joining solid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Or joining the Broadwater Solid Waste?
Yeah.
I was going to add a sentence on here because I think it's important to note in here that they are currently not within, just because there has been some confusion, and not that the landowners would necessarily receive this findings of fact report, but at least we've documented it. So if I could just add a sentence that would state lot owners have the ability to join the Broadwater County Solid Waste District by contacting the Broadwater County Public Works Director.
Perfect.
Is that acceptable? Okay.
So Daryl, for your learning curve in this, we, if there were any kind of a challenge to a subdivision, we would not be deposed or even questioned. Perhaps we would in court, but prior to that point, we wouldn't. What they would rely on almost solely from the commissioner's side is what we do in this meeting, the questions that we ask. So Title 76 has 7 different areas that we should be looking at and asking about, and even though they're in the findings of fact, it's a good idea to still ask the question so that it's a matter of public record, especially with the fact that we have video. So, they are redundant, but, it appears, Nicole, that there is, the impact on agriculture will be, non-existent, is minimal
Correct.
to nothing, because it's already part of the subdivision, correct?
That's correct. And also, I never put non-existent in my findings of fact report because I don't want to take that off the table. I always use the word minimal, even if it were most likely non-existent.
Right.
This is a subdivision parcel. They're not grazing. They do not have any livestock on there. They're not growing any crops. But I would hate to say non-existent because that's so encompassing. But that's essentially the case here. Yes.
And I appreciate that. As soon as that word came out, I wanted to bite my tongue. So thank you. So agricultural water use or facilities, there are none on this. It's minimal on
Correct.
this property.
Correct.
And local services were addressed with the solid waste, weed, and emergency services,
Mhm.
law enforcement, correct?
That is correct.
Minimal impact to the school as well.
Right.
The natural environment, we have that protected with the no-build zone. Wildlife, minimal impact,
Correct.
because it's already part of a subdivision. Wildlife habitat, minimal impact.
Very, very minimal, if at all, yes.
And public health and safety was also addressed with Three Forks ambulance, fire, and law enforcement from Broadwater County, correct?
That's correct, and again, I think that this setback will help with that. You know, you're not going to have a home or a kid's playground or something right there, or a play area, right there on the water.
Yeah. And I appreciate that it will protect not only the view shed, but the integrity of the property going down to the river.
So who's responsible for the enforcement of the no-build zone?
Essentially, that would come down to my office and the sanitarian's office at this point, since we do not have building codes or building inspectors. If someone came in, so most likely not even my office, Julie, or the sanitarian's office, if they wanted to put their septic system in down there in that location.
So does
the sanitarian would look at that and see a
no-build
no-build
zone
zone.
also include you can't put your septic into that area?
Not necessarily, and I don't, since we don't have the DEQ approval yet, I'm not sure where they were going to put the septic system, but no, that does not mean that they could not put their septic system in there. The septic system would have to stay 100 feet away from the river, though.
Okay.
The slopes are too steep for a septic system there too. I mean, it slopes down to the river.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't be able to be approved with also the drainage. And the system is proposed up on the north end of the parcel.
Oh, okay.
But I see where Mike's going. I mean, in the purpose of that, it's for the present landowner, so he doesn't have that obstruction, I'm guessing, in his view. But what is going to stop somebody from building in it?
Right.
I mean, I guess unless there's an agreement with their contractor, whoever he sells it to, that they would not do that.
Well, and I'm certain, with Mr. Hamilton being the creator of this subdivision, if you will, and living in the area, he would be able to notify the county right away that this can't be occurring. I mean, first of all, notify the landowner, and if the landowner continued to notify the county, and then the county, we would have recourse through legal means, because it is identified as a no-build zone.
And it's on the plat
And it's
too.
on the plat,
And
and
it
that
is, yeah.
should always go to any purchasers of property. They get their DEQ approval and layout, as well as a copy of the plat and the covenants.
So, here where it mentions the weed management plan, is that something that has been happening in the past? I mean, do they actually submit one to our, I guess, to our weed board, is that who we go to?
Yep, absolutely. I believe it's Appendix N in our subdivision regulations is the
Okay.
weed management plan paperwork. They complete that, pay the fee when they pay their preliminary approval fee, or their preliminary submittal fees, I'm sorry. The weed fee is included in that. The weed plan goes to the weed department. The weed coordinator takes it to the weed board for their review and approval,
Okay.
or disapproval. And then it is always recorded with the subdivision. There is no.
Not that covenants are always enforceable, there is a covenant that says no construction is permitted of any type of either permanent or temporary structures in the no-build zone on lot 3B. The storage of over 24 hours of any type of personal, recreational, or business equipment or property is not allowed in the no-build zone on lot 3B.
And that's the developer's covenants, that's not a commission-required covenant.
Right, yeah. Right, great, that answers my questions, thanks for that.
You bet.
Do they get mosquito control down there out of the Three Forks area? Do you know?
You know, I don't know what the Three Forks mosquito district is. I mapped the Townsend mosquito district, but I did not map the Three Forks, so I can't answer that, I'm sorry, I don't know what that looks like.
You know, I think it is, but I would hesitate to say.
Sure. I guess I'm wondering why they wouldn't want to join the mosquito district, especially living along
On the water?
Living along the river, I mean.
The weed plan, even though it's not completed yet, is required as part of our requirements. So a motion to allow for preliminary plat doesn't necessarily have to include that because it's already a requirement, correct?
That's correct, and I believe it's a condition of approval, if not, it should be in, it should be added, but. Yes, condition number 4.
With that, I will move that we grant preliminary plat to the Hamilton subsequent minor subdivision.
Is there a second?
Second motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the preliminary plat for the Hamilton subsequent minor subdivision. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a vote. All in favor of said motion?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Yes, Tim?
Just a real quick question on the subdivision process here in the county.